Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Chelsea, and today I have a very fun video for you all today because if you know me, you know I love foundations. Like, they are my vice. They are the thing that I buy way too much of, but I love them. So I am comparing my two most expensive foundations, and we're gonna put them through a wear test. We're gonna see which one is actually worth the money, because both of these have very high price tags. And I love luxury makeup, but I also want to purchase things that are worth the money. And of course, I want to be able to recommend things to you all that I feel is worth your money as well. But in all honesty, are these actually worth the price? We don't know, but we're gonna find out. But before we get into this video, I just want to say thank you so much for taking time out of your day to spend some time with me. If this is your first time here, I'd love for you to stick around and subscribe to my channel. I'd love to have you here. And if you are a returning subscriber, thank you so much for coming back, for constantly supporting my channel with all of your likes and comments. It really does mean a lot to me, and I'm very appreciative of each and every one of you. So let's get into this video. So today we're going to be comparing the Tom Ford Shade and Illuminate foundation along with the La Mer, the Soft Fluid foundation. So let's get us a little background of these foundations. So let's start off with Tom Ford. I did do a full review of this Tom Ford foundation recently, and I'll go ahead and link it for you right here. In that particular video, I was wearing the shade 9.5, and although I feel I made it work, it wasn't the best shade for me. So I recently purchased it because in that video I was using a sample. I did like it enough to where I wanted to purchase it, and I picked up the shade 8.7, and I did put a little bit on just to make sure. This is a really good shade match for me, much better than the 9.5. So just to give you a quick background about the Tom Ford foundation, it does come in 40 shades. It retails for a whopping $150. Yes, it does. We get a total of 1 fluid ounce in this foundation, or 30 milliliters. This foundation does come with an SPF of 50. This is going to give us, from what I'm reading off of Nordstrom, this is claiming to give us medium to full coverage foundation with 3-dimensional radiance that will reflect soft light. Currently, this is on sale at Nordstrom's for 15% off if you are interested in this foundation. Now, moving on to the La Mer, the Soft Fluid foundation. I wear mine in the shade Amber 53, and I did do a review of this foundation last year. So if you check my Foundation Friday playlist, I'll link that down below. You can go back and watch this video. I'll also link it for you right here. And I'm reading from Sephora. This foundation comes in 28 shades. It retails for $120, and we also get 1 fluid ounce in this foundation, and it does come with an SPF of 20. This particular foundation is going to give us a weightless, natural looking foundation with buildable coverage. The coverage is going to be medium. The finish is said to be natural. The foundation is said to work for all skin types. It's said to be a silky, lightweight formula. It's going to hydrate the skin and plump the skin. Fine lines and wrinkles will look softened. The look of pores and imperfections are going to be diminished. And then it also has the UV protection. Just right off the cuff, the Tom Ford foundation has more shades. The La Mer foundation, I think, has a decent amount of shades, so almost 30 shades. Tom Ford has 40 shades. So we've got, Tom Ford has a little bit of a one-up on that starting out. Looking at the shade range though, the La Mer foundation looks like it only has really 1 deep shade. And when I say deep shade, I'm talking about like deep chocolate skin tones. Whereas the Tom Ford, we're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 deep chocolate shades. Now, on the contrary, La Mer has a lot of lighter skin shades, so it looks like there's a skin shade for people who are fair, definitely going up to light. There's a few medium shades, and then like I said, there's 1 deep chocolate shade. For Shade and Illuminate, it looks like there's a really good range of skin tones from fair to light. And what I like about the Tom Ford foundation shade ranges, I'm actually seeing undertone differences as well. So it looks like there's undertones for cool, warm, neutral across the fair, light, medium, and deep complexions. In terms of packaging, both of them come in a glass bottle. The La Mer has this soft glass bottle finish. I like that the cap is nice and sturdy, so it's not one that I feel is gonna fall off in my bag. And it's pretty simple, I like it. Tom Ford, I mean, package-wise, Tom Ford wins it in my book. You've got this beautiful glass packaging. I love that it's that burgundy, rich, like mahogany color, like some of the other packaging of his products. And then the cap is magnetic. We paid like $15 just for that. And yes, both come with a pump, which is great. I hate foundations that do not come with a pump, so we've got pumps right here. All right, so those are the logistics just kind of off the top. Let's put this on our face and start this wear test. So first I'm gonna prime my face with the Tatcha, the Liquid Silk Canvas Primer. I am gonna use that on both sides of my face so that both products can have a fair shot at performing their best. Okay, so let's start off with the La Mer foundation. So I'm gonna go with one pump on this side of my face, and then I'm gonna go in with my Flower Beauty foundation brush and blend it out. Okay, so this is what the La Mer foundation looks like on my skin, and this is, like I said, about one pump. Right off the bat, the La Mer does have fragrance, and it is pretty strong. Once it gets on your face and you finish blending it in, you don't really smell it too much, but it is there. Like, there is fragrance in it. But I do like the finish of this foundation. I think it looks really beautiful and radiant. I'm gonna clean off this brush so that we can use the same brush for the Tom Ford side. Okay, on to the Tom Ford. So I'm gonna put about one pump on this side of my face. Like I said, I did clean off this brush, so we're going to blend that in as well. This is what the Tom Ford foundation looks like on my face. I'm gonna come in a little closer so we can see everything up close. Here we go, we've got La Mer on this side, and I have some acne down here, and I've noticed that, let me look down here, sorry, okay, right here, the foundation is grabbing just slightly on the part of my scar that is a little dry. So I did notice that. The feel of the foundation on my skin feels really nice and soft. On this side, here's the Tom Ford foundation, and I broke out all in here. So I used one of those razors that are geared towards shaving your mustache, and it broke me out here. So I think this is still a good day to do a foundation wear test because we can see how this looks on textured skin and things like that. But that's what all of this is. But here's the Tom Ford foundation. I think it looks really beautiful on the skin. I think both look really beautiful on the skin. I do feel like the Tom Ford side has more radiance, just a little bit more radiance compared to the La Mer's side. It has more, I would say, of like soft matte, like not matte. It's definitely not matte, but it's just like, it's not tacky. Like if I didn't want to set this, I don't feel like I need to set it. Whereas the Tom Ford one, it's just a smidge more tacky. I also feel like the Tom Ford foundation doesn't give me as much coverage right off the back like La Mer does, because I still see some of the redness from when I was messing with these bumps compared to this side. Add a little bit more of the Tom Ford foundation just to see if we can build up coverage around my freckles, because that's how I see the building of coverage, and also around the lower half of my face that I feel needs just a little bit more coverage. So I do feel like the Tom Ford foundation is buildable. I would say this is more like a nice solid medium. I don't know if I could build this to full coverage. I feel like to get full coverage, I would have to add more foundation, and truth be told, I'm not adding 2 and 3 layers of this very expensive foundation to achieve full coverage. So I don't think you're getting full coverage just off of a couple of layers of foundation. With the La Mer, I'll add just a little bit more of the La Mer. I don't feel like I need more foundation to match the coverage of the Tom Ford. I feel like I almost have even coverage. But I'm just gonna I'm gonna add just a little bit more just so that we can see the buildability. There we go. The buildability of the foundation. Okay. I feel like with the La Mer foundation, I could maybe achieve a fuller medium type of coverage. And I think it's just because it comes out the gate with just a little bit more coverage. So I can see with the La Mer getting more of like, you know, medium full. I think with a Tom Ford, I think you're really good at a medium. Hey, one of my signs fell down, so we had to go and address that. But I think both foundations give me a really fresh, glowing type of skin look. I really like how both of them look on my face, even with the texture that I do have today. Even with the La Mer and it like slightly clinging to the dry portion of my acne scar, it doesn't look crusty and it doesn't look exaggerated either. But I wanted to point it out, especially if you have like really dry skin, that might be something to consider. Honestly, I think if you just used more of a hydrating primer, that might fix it so that this doesn't cling to any of your dry spots. But just wanted to put it out there because once again, these foundations are expensive, so I am going to be nitpicking to the max with both of them. Let's do some flash photography because both of these foundations do contain a decent amount of SPF. So we'll go do that and we'll come back and see what we're looking at. Okay, and from what I can see, I do not see any flashback, which is great. That means that if you do get this foundation and you wanted to wear it at night for a special event or just at night in general, you don't have to worry about having that white cast on your face due to the flashback. So I am very happy about that. Okay, so I'm gonna finish off my face. I'm gonna come back, show you how everything looks on top of my face, and then I will go about my day and check back in at the end of the day with my thoughts. Okay, I am back and I have all of my makeup on my face, and of course I will link everything down below. So if you are interested in other products that I used, you can go check them out down there. And so I've had this foundation on now for a little over an hour and a half, and I am liking how everything is looking. The only thing that I want to point out that I have noticed about this La Mer foundation is that it does settle into fine lines. So if you look right here, you'll see it settling just a little bit in my fine lines, and it settles kind of quickly. So I put my setting spray on, and I always, after I put my setting spray on, I always go in with my brush and just kind of pounce it into my skin. So this is what it looks like after I pounce the setting spray into my skin. But it does, in my opinion, start to settle a little quickly into fine lines. I have some small fine lines over here, and so far Tom Ford has not settled into those. I will say I typically don't get foundation to settle in the fine lines on this side of my face as much as I get foundation to settle into this one. So I will put that out there that we are kind of dealing with two different sets of fine lines on my face. But I think both sides of my face look really beautiful. They still look really radiant, and I like the color match of both of these foundations. I'm gonna go about my day. Like I said, I'm gonna try to have this foundation on for a minimum of 7 to 8 hours, and then we will check back in at the end of the day so I can give you my final thoughts. Okay, we are back. It is the end of the day, and I have my final thoughts on both of these foundations. Now, let me preface this by saying I took a nap today. Was not expecting to take one, but I did, and I slept on both sides of my face for a while. We also did an Easter egg hunt today, and I was outside for like 3 hours. It was really nice outside. I was able to have the sun on my face and things like that. And so with that being said, I've had this foundation on for well over 9 hours, probably approaching the 10-hour mark. So we have put this kind of through the test. This is what my skin is looking like. So I'm gonna come in a little close so that you can see what everything is looking like up close and personal. So remember, we had the La Mer foundation on this side and the Tom Ford foundation on this side. I do feel like the foundation kind of wore away a little bit just across this portion of my chin. I did eat today. Like I said, I fell asleep. I wasn't drooling, I will say that, but I fell asleep. So I do feel like it kind of wore a little bit around my jawline, but the rest of my face, across my forehead and my cheeks, I really feel like the foundations really like kind of stayed in place. I do see just a little bit of dewiness on around my nose, and I will say I feel like I have a little bit more dew on the Tom Ford side compared to the La Mer side. Throughout the day, when I was looking at my face and kind of checking in myself just to see how both sides were wearing, I noticed that the Tom Ford side gave me a lot more radiance throughout the day than the La Mer side. And so what I mean by more radiance, it didn't look dewy. I didn't feel the need to blot, but I was just like, oh, wow, there's like, it was a lot of radiance. I felt like my skin looked a little more plump too because it was more radiant. Now on the Tom Ford side, it looked almost more matte, but I felt like it looked like that because the Tom Ford side was much more radiant. Now this side, I loved how smooth it looks. I feel like this side just looks it looks very smooth like a matte foundation, but it doesn't feel like a matte foundation, which I love because I don't like that like overly matte type of feel on my face. Now, in terms of my smile line, I know I mentioned that earlier. I do see some additional settling, but not a lot. I feel like if you're just looking at me head on, you're not zoned in on my smile line because the foundation has settled too much. But that was one of my biggest complaints when I did my first review on this foundation. I felt like it did settle in this fine line and it actually settled more throughout the day. Now, I have to say, this Tatcha, the Liquid Silk Canvas Primer, it is doing wonders because if you go back and look at my video, you'll notice that the foundation settled a lot more in this smile line. And I actually said I didn't think that the foundation was worth it for me in order to repurchase it because I felt like it settled too quickly. And for that amount of money, I'm not trying to pay that for me to have a smile line exaggerated. But I feel like the Tatcha the Liquid Silk Canvas Primer really like reduced that settling. So like kudos to the Tatcha primer, like it is doing its job. But with that said, I really am enjoying both sides. And honestly, I would recommend both foundations, especially now having this Tatcha primer, knowing that that's gonna help to reduce the settling of this foundation. I'm like, cool. I can definitely wear this because I've always loved the finish of this foundation. I just didn't like that it settled in my fine lines the way that it did. The Tom Ford side, I don't see any settling around these smile lines that I have here. And I really think both foundations look beautiful. If I had to put one over the other, I would probably rank the Tom Ford a little higher than the La Mer foundation simply because of shade range. I feel like more people and more skin tones and complexions would have the opportunity to find a better shade in the Tom Ford foundation compared to the La Mer foundation. But outside of that, I mean, the La Mer foundation is cheaper. It's $30 cheaper. I think both are pretty comparable in terms of just they're both great foundations. They both wear very well. Your skin looks beautiful. I mean, I kept looking at myself throughout the day and I was like, I am not disappointed in how this is looking. And with me having a lot more breakouts than I normally have, I still felt like my skin looked radiant. It still looked pretty and healthy. And I'm like, all right, if you're gonna charge me a freaking bill, then at least make me feel good about my skin when I got some breakouts. And both of these foundations did that. So I'm very impressed by both of them. I really recommend both of them to you. Now, do you need to spend this money? Absolutely not. I have the Wet n Wild Dewy Foundation and that is $5 and it is amazing. I mean, it is amazing. But if you are looking at them and if you are wondering, should you take the plunge and will it be worth your money? If you look at this video, I'm hoping that it will help you make that choice. So yes, I think that's all I want to say. I'm very impressed by both foundations and I think they both passed the test. But that's it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please let me know your comments down below. Let me know which side you think looks better. La Mer, Tom Ford, either, both, neither. Let me know your thoughts down below. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching and I really hope to see you in my very next video. Bye guys.